Pray this to find peace in the middle of stress, chaos, and mental overload, the 27th of July, Sunday. There are days when you wake up and feel like you're slowly sinking. Everything hits at once: work demands, bills piling up, tension at home, and a mind spinning with 100 unresolved thoughts. You try to hold it together because that's what you're supposed to do. But deep down, all you really want is to pause, take a deep breath, and find your way back to yourself. If you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. And you don't have to fight through it on your own either. In this message, we'll step together into a quiet space, a place where you can breathe again, lay your burdens down, and rediscover true peace. You don't have to be strong right away. You don't have to be perfect to be heard. You just have to be willing to pause, observe, and open your heart, because even in the middle of chaos, there is a path that leads to deep stillness, prayer, emotional awareness, and intentional action. This isn't just religious advice. It's a healing journey, real, accessible, and made for you, the one doing your best not to collapse under the weight of it all. And right here, right now, is where it begins. Number 1. Why prayer matters when life feels overwhelming. When life gets overwhelming, when bills are piling up, relationships feel strained, work becomes unbearable, and there's that constant pressure to be strong, even when you feel like you're falling apart. It's easy to believe you've got to fix everything on your own. But what if I told you that you were never meant to carry all that weight by yourself? This is why prayer is so powerful. It's not some formal religious routine reserved for the perfect or the polished. Prayer is your direct connection to the one who already knows your struggles before you even say a word. It's a space where you can drop the mask, take off the armor, and be completely honest, raw, real, and broken if you have to be. You don't need the right words or a holy tone. God isn't asking you to be strong first. He's inviting you just as you are, tired and burdened, as it says in Matthew 11, verse 28. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Think about that rest, not more demands. Peace, not more pressure. In a world that tells men to keep pushing, keep performing, and never show weakness, God says it's okay to let go. He wants your honesty more than your perfection. You see, when life gets noisy and the stress feels like it's choking your spirit, prayer becomes that quiet place where your soul can breathe again. What many men don't realize is that prayer isn't about changing God's mind. It's about aligning your heart with His strength. And in that alignment, you find clarity, peace, and solutions you couldn't see before. Life today is full of distractions, constant notifications, financial worries, unspoken expectations, and the fear of not being enough. But prayer helps you unplug from all that chaos and plug into purpose. It reminds you that you are not alone, not forgotten, and definitely not powerless. Even in moments when you feel like you're at the end of your rope, prayer reminds you that God is the rope. He's the solid ground beneath your feet. And sometimes, just the act of speaking to Him honestly, saying, God, I don't know what to do, is enough to shift something in your spirit. Because that moment of surrender is when He steps in with power. The truth is, men today are carrying so much silently: financial pressure, health concerns, emotional weight from past trauma or current failures, but God is not expecting you to carry all that and still smile through it. He says, talk to me. That's what prayer is, real conversation with a real God who really listens. And when you begin to make this a habit, not only during storms, but even in the calm, you start to realize how much lighter life feels. Prayer opens the door for divine intervention, for peace that doesn't make sense, for direction when you're lost, and for hope when all you see is despair. Like Psalm 20, verse 1 declares, May the Lord answer you when you are in distress. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you. That promise is alive for you today. So yes, life can feel heavy, but prayer isn't just the last resort. It's your greatest weapon. Don't underestimate what happens when a man finally stops trying to carry everything and starts talking to the God who can carry anything. In that moment, strength rises, clarity returns, and hope becomes real again. And that, my brother, is when everything starts to change. Number 2, things to do before praying. Before you begin to pray, before you open your heart and speak even a single word, there is something deeply powerful about simply slowing down. In the middle of your stress, the pressure of work, family responsibilities, finances, health concerns, and the quiet weight that many men carry but rarely voice, there's a sacred invitation to pause. This moment is not about being perfect or performing a ritual. It's about showing up as you are. Whether you feel strong or broken, focused or scattered, worthy or unworthy, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're here. So start by sitting up straight, as if claiming your space in this world again. Let your shoulders drop, because tension is not your natural state. Close your eyes if you're able, not to escape reality, but to reconnect with the deeper part of yourself. Take a deep breath through your nose, hold it for 4 seconds, then exhale gently and slowly for 6. Do this 3 times. Each breath is like a quiet rebellion against the chaos that tries to run your life. It's a way of telling your mind, your body, and your soul, peace is possible, even now. In today's noisy and demanding world, men often find themselves expected to hold everything together, to be the provider, the protector, the problem solver. But God never asked you to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. That's why prayer is not just a religious habit, it's a lifeline. Yet before you pray, you need to bring your whole self into the moment. No masks, no pretending to be stronger than you are. You're not talking to a distant deity who demands perfection. You're coming into the presence of a Father who sees you, knows you, and loves you as you are. And the beauty of this sacred pause, this act of stillness before the words, is that it allows the noise in your mind to settle so you can actually hear your own soul again. Sometimes, especially in moments of mental overload, we rush into prayer like we're checking something off a list. But prayer isn't a task, it's a relationship. And like any relationship, it thrives in presence, not performance. So before you start asking for peace or strength, give yourself permission to just be still. Let your body settle and your thoughts soften. This is the posture of peace. This is where real clarity begins. It may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to staying busy as a way to avoid the deeper things. But trust that slowing down isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's a bold move in a world that equates busyness with value. Think about how often your stress stems not from the actual problems you face, but from the frantic pace at which you face them. Slowing down helps you regain perspective. And that's why God often meets us not in the storm itself, but in the stillness after it. As it says in Psalm 46 verse 10, "Be still and know that I am God." It's not just a command, it's a comfort, a reminder that you don't have to force everything into place. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to show up with open hands, with a quiet heart, with a willingness to let go of control and receive peace that doesn't always make sense but always heals. So breathe, be still, and then pray, not because you have to, but because you get to. Because in that quiet space between breaths, your soul is already being heard. If this message spoke to you, drop a comment below with these simple words. Peace begins in the pause. You don't need to explain or overthink it, just write it as a quiet declaration that you're choosing stillness over chaos today. Sometimes, that one small act of agreement is the first step toward real peace. Number 3. Pray this to find peace in the middle of stress. Father, in this moment, I come to you not as someone who has it all together, but as someone who is weary and weighed down, someone whose heart beats too fast and whose mind won't slow down. I'm not trying to impress you with polished words or perfect prayers. I just need you. My soul is tired from pretending, from holding up appearances, from trying to push through when everything inside of me is telling me to rest. I've smiled through exhaustion, pushed past pain, and dismissed my own limits as if they don't matter. But you see me. You know the real me, not just the version I show to the world. And still, you welcome me with compassion. So I lay it all down now. The invisible burdens, the muscle tension, the headaches, the racing thoughts. I surrender every ounce of this stress I've been carrying alone. You are not disappointed in me for being overwhelmed. You're not surprised that I've reached my limit. Instead, you open your arms and invite me into your peace, into your rest, into your presence where I can breathe again. Lord, when stress storms into my mind, it rarely comes quietly. It roars in with fear, anxiety, and pressure, turning my thoughts into a battlefield of what-ifs and regrets. I rehearse conversations that already happened and catastrophize situations that haven't even come to pass. Sleep feels like a stranger some nights, and rest feels impossible. But your word reminds me to be still, not to fix it all, not to know it all, but to simply be still and remember that you are God. You are bigger than my chaos. You are stronger than my stress. So right now, I ask you to silence the noise in my head. Let your peace be louder than the lies, louder than the panic, louder than the pressure. Not just a feeling of calm, but your actual presence, Jesus, the Prince of Peace meeting me in the middle of the storm. Slow my heartbeat. Settle my soul. Let me feel your nearness in the silence between the noise. I don't need all the answers right now. I just need to know you're here. And I believe you are. Lord, stress has this way of making everything feel urgent. Like every task is an emergency and every message demands a reaction. But I know not everything deserves that kind of energy. Some of the things I'm losing sleep over today won't even matter in a few days. So please help me rise above the panic. Give me your perspective so I can see my life from a higher place. Help me recognize what truly matters and release what is just noise. Give me discernment to know what to give my heart to and the courage to say no to what drains me. Let your word and your truth be my anchor, not the opinions or expectations of others. Bring me back to the basics: faith, love, your promises, your presence. These are the things that bring real peace. Help me realign when I drift. Help me focus on what's eternal, not just what's urgent. Father, I can't always change my environment. My home, my work, my relationships, they can feel loud and chaotic. But you can transform any space into holy ground. So I ask you now to shift the atmosphere. Fill my surroundings with your peace. Let every room I enter carry your presence. Make my home a place where your spirit dwells, not perfect, but peaceful. And Lord, make me a carrier of that peace. Let my words, my tone, my presence reflect you. Use me to spread calm, not more chaos. God, I don't always notice how stress settles in my body until it's too late, until the headaches hit, until my shoulders are tight, until fatigue becomes constant. But you notice and you care. You created me not for endless strain, but for rhythms of grace. So right now, I ask for your healing touch. Restore what stress has worn down. Renew my nervous system. Relax my body. Refresh my energy. Let me sleep deeply tonight, the kind of rest that restores both soul and body. Help me stop treating rest like a luxury and start treating it like what it really is: worship, obedience, trust. Help me honor my body as your creation and listen to its signals with grace, not guilt. Father, much of my stress comes from uncertainty. The future feels blurry, and my fear fills in the blanks with the worst-case scenarios. But while I'm stuck worrying about what might happen, you are already in tomorrow. You see the next week, the next month, the next year, and nothing catches you off guard. So I release the need to control what I cannot predict. I give you the fears I haven't said out loud. Teach me to walk one step at a time, to trust the hand that holds time itself. You're already in every moment I'm afraid of. Let that truth settle my spirit. Lord, stress confuses me. It clouds my judgment and makes me question myself. Decisions that once felt simple now feel paralyzing. I ask you now for clarity, not always the full picture, but at least the next step. Your word says you're not the author of confusion, but of peace, so guide me from that place. Speak clearly through your word, through peace, through wise counsel. And if the answer doesn't come today, give me patience to wait without panicking. Help me trust that your silence doesn't mean your absence. Quiet the distractions. Remove the pressure to rush. Help me tune into your voice again. And Father, sometimes stress makes me feel like I'm behind, like I'm not doing enough, being enough, achieving enough. But that is not your voice. You never asked me to prove my worth through performance. You call me beloved, even when I feel broken. So please lift this burden of perfection. Help me to rest in your grace, knowing that you see every effort, every step, every tear, and you are proud of me, even in my weakness. Where I fall short, you fill in the gaps with love. God, stress also brings out sides of me I don't like. I become irritable, impatient, and sometimes I hurt people I love. Then guilt joins the mix and makes it even heavier. So I ask you to soften my heart. Help me not to carry resentment. Help me to forgive others and forgive myself. Guard my spirit from bitterness. Let me reflect your love even when I feel pressure pressing in. When I mess up, give me humility to make it right. Let your grace overflow through me so I can offer it to others. And finally, Lord, I don't want this peace to be a one-time thing. I don't want to just reach for it in emergencies. I want it to be my way of life. Help me build rhythms that welcome your presence every day. Remind me to check in with my spirit and return to you before the stress becomes too much. Let peace become my lifestyle, not just my lifeline. And with every breath, remind me that I am never walking through this alone. You are here, and your peace is not a temporary escape, it is a promise I can hold on to. I choose it now. I receive it. I carry it forward. In the name of Jesus, my peace giver and storm calmer. Amen. Stress response. Transformation instead of escape. Stress is something we all know too well. It shows up in the middle of deadlines, during family tension, in moments of uncertainty or loneliness. Our usual response: run from it, numb it, or bury it beneath distractions. But what if stress wasn't something to escape from? What if it was something we could transform? This journey isn't about denying discomfort or pretending everything is fine. It's about changing the way we relate to stress. Instead of reacting automatically, we learn to pause, reflect, and respond with wisdom. Instead of being overwhelmed by our emotions, we learn to meet them with clarity and compassion. Step by step, we discover that stress can become not just a burden but a guide. In the following sections, we'll explore 4 powerful steps that gently shift us from escape to transformation. These aren't spiritual ideals meant for monks on mountains. They are simple, grounded practices for real people navigating real-life work, relationships, aging, finances, and the ever-changing world around us. When we learn to stop running and start observing, naming, understanding, and acting with intention, we begin to reclaim our power. The goal isn't to live a life without stress. It's to build the inner capacity to meet stress with a steady heart and a clear mind. Let's begin the transformation. Number 1. Stop and observe. When we face stress, our usual instinct is to react immediately, often by avoiding the situation or numbing ourselves with distractions. But what if we approached stress not as something to escape from, but as something we could transform? The first step in this transformation is to stop and observe. It may sound simple, but this small pause can become a doorway to greater clarity and inner strength. By asking ourselves basic but powerful questions like, "What am I feeling?" and "Where is this stress really coming from?" we shift from reacting blindly to responding mindfully. These questions are not meant to fix the problem right away, but to help us reconnect with ourselves. Stress often clouds our perception, but when we give ourselves permission to pause and look inward, we begin to see more clearly not just what's happening outside of us, but also what's going on inside. This internal observation is a quiet act of courage, and it lays the foundation for any true transformation. To support this self-observation, we can turn to simple, grounding practices that help calm the nervous system and create space between our experience and our response. One such practice is deep breathing. A gentle rhythm: inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, then exhale slowly for 6, done just a few times, can signal the body that it's safe, turning down the volume of stress and fear. This small act of conscious breathing can quickly bring us back to the present, where we can observe our emotions without being swept away by them. Another helpful practice is keeping an emotional diary. Taking 5 to 10 minutes to write freely about what we're feeling, without judgment or editing, allows our inner world to be seen and acknowledged. It's not about analyzing or fixing, it's about witnessing. And in that witnessing, healing begins. For those moments when thoughts and feelings feel overwhelming, a 5-minute meditation can provide a safe space. Simply sitting still, closing your eyes, and paying attention to your breath while allowing all emotions to rise and fall naturally can bring a sense of spaciousness even in the midst of inner turmoil. These practices are not about spiritual perfection or escaping life's hardships. They are practical tools for everyday life, especially for those navigating the demands of work, relationships, aging, and uncertainty. When we pause and observe instead of reacting or running, we're not suppressing our stress, we're giving it room to breathe. We're stepping out of the cycle of reactivity and into a space where transformation becomes possible. It's in this space that our habitual patterns begin to loosen, and we discover the ability to respond with greater wisdom and compassion, not only toward others, but also toward ourselves. As we cultivate this pause more regularly, we find that we are not as powerless as we once felt. The storm may still come, but we stand with a stronger center. This is not a technique to make stress disappear, it's a path to transform how we relate to it. And in that transformation, we find a kind of freedom that doesn't depend on circumstances, but on the clarity we've nurtured within. Number 2. Name the emotion, no judgment. Once we've taken that important first step of pausing and observing our stress, the next vital move in transforming our response is to name the emotion clearly, gently, and without judgment. This simple act of labeling what we feel has a powerful effect on our emotional state, yet it's something many of us overlook. Too often, we speak to ourselves harshly when we're overwhelmed, saying things like, "I'm so weak," or "I can't handle this." But this kind of self-talk only deepens our suffering because it fuses our identity with the emotion. Instead of recognizing that we're feeling anxious, we start to believe that we are anxiety itself. So, we begin to shift by changing the language we use. Rather than saying, "I am weak," we say, "I am feeling overwhelmed," or "I notice that there is anxiety in me right now." This might sound subtle, but it opens up space between us and the emotion. We stop clinging to it as a fixed part of who we are and start seeing it for what it really is, a temporary inner weather system that will eventually pass. By naming the emotion correctly, we actually activate a part of the brain that helps regulate our feelings, signaling safety to the nervous system and allowing us to regain a sense of calm and control. It's important to build a rich emotional vocabulary so we can be more accurate in naming what we're experiencing. Instead of using vague or harsh terms like bad or crazy, we can be more specific and kind with ourselves. Are you feeling anxiety, or is it more like pressure or overwhelm? Is there anger, or perhaps a deep sense of helplessness or loneliness? The more clearly we can identify the emotion, the more empowered we become in responding to it wisely. Words like self-pity, confusion, loss of control, these are not labels to criticize ourselves, but tools to understand ourselves better. When we know the difference between being angry and feeling powerless, we're more likely to address the true source of our stress. And as we become more skilled at identifying what's moving through us, we become less afraid of our emotional world. Emotions lose their grip over us when they are seen and named without resistance. There's no need to judge what we feel. Emotions are not right or wrong, they are signals. Just like hunger tells us we need nourishment, anxiety might be telling us something important is out of balance. By meeting these signals with curiosity instead of criticism, we begin to transform not just the way we respond to stress, but our entire relationship with ourselves. This is not about becoming emotionless or perfectly composed at all times. It's about cultivating self-awareness and compassion, especially in the moments when we feel the most fragile. And with that awareness comes power, not the kind that dominates or controls, but the quiet strength that comes from understanding ourselves deeply. As this practice becomes more natural, we find that emotions no longer define us. They visit, they speak, and then they go. And in between their coming and going, we learn to breathe, to listen, and to stand calmly at the center of it all. If this message touched something real in you, just drop this in the comments. I am learning to name it, not judge it. No need to explain, no pressure to say more, just type it as a quiet step towards self-understanding. Sometimes, acknowledging our journey out loud is how healing begins. Number 3. Find the meaning behind stress. Once we've learned to pause and observe our stress, and begun naming our emotions with clarity and without judgment, the next step in transforming our stress response is to gently explore the deeper message behind what we're feeling. Stress is not always just a sign of external chaos. It can often be a reflection of something within us that is out of alignment. When we start asking ourselves meaningful questions like, what is this stress reflecting about something wrong in my life? We move from being consumed by stress to learning from it. This shift in perspective allows us to uncover hidden patterns, unmet needs, or choices that no longer serve us. For example, stress might be pointing to a lack of healthy boundaries. Perhaps we're constantly saying yes when we really want to say no, leaving us drained and resentful. Or maybe we're trying to juggle too many responsibilities without a clear plan, stretching ourselves so thin that we're always in survival mode. It could even be that the work we're doing, or the environment we're in, no longer aligns with what we truly value or believe in. And that inner conflict quietly builds up until stress becomes the messenger we can no longer ignore. By taking the time to explore these questions honestly, we begin to see stress not as an enemy, but as a guide, one that can lead us toward necessary change. One effective way to access this insight is through writing. Journaling allows us to put our thoughts and emotions into words, giving them form and clarity. A helpful prompt might be, "This situation makes me feel," because it reflects that. Completing this sentence can help uncover the deeper story behind our reaction, turning vague discomfort into a clearer understanding. Another powerful question to write about is, what is this stress teaching me? This simple question can reveal truths we've been avoiding or overlooking. Perhaps it teaches us that we've been neglecting rest, or that we've outgrown a particular role or relationship. Perhaps it points to our need for better self-care, more honest communication, or a shift in direction. As we reflect in this way, we begin to recognize that stress often signals the need for growth, boundaries, or realignment with our core values. The process of finding meaning in our stress doesn't remove the challenges from our lives, but it does offer a path through them, one that brings us closer to our authentic self. It invites us to become active participants in our own healing rather than passive victims of circumstance. And as we grow more practiced in this inner inquiry, we'll notice that stress, while still uncomfortable, becomes less threatening. It becomes a signal, not a sentence. We stop resisting it and start listening to it, allowing it to shape our next steps with wisdom and intention. In doing so, we transform not only how we experience stress, but how we live. We move from reaction to reflection, from avoidance to awareness, and through that, from suffering to meaningful change. Number 4. Translate into intentional action. After observing your stress, naming your emotions, and uncovering the deeper messages they carry, the next essential step in transforming your stress response is to translate all that awareness into intentional, grounded action. Without this step, insight can remain just insight, valuable, but not yet life-changing. Taking intentional action means shifting from being passively swept along by emotional waves to becoming an active participant in shaping your response and, by extension, your life. It's about reclaiming your power, step by step, not through force or dramatic change, but through conscious, well-chosen movements in the direction of balance. For instance, if you've recognized that your stress stems from being overloaded at work, it's often not just the workload itself, but how you're relating to it, perhaps through difficulty in prioritizing or reluctance to ask for help. Here, the intentional action might be setting clearer limits on your time, learning to delegate certain tasks, or having an honest conversation with a supervisor about capacity. It may also mean scheduling specific breaks or simplifying your routine so your nervous system has time to recover. In another common scenario, financial stress may not simply be about how much money is coming in, but about how it's being managed. Stress in this area often reflects either a lack of financial clarity or fear rooted in insecurity about the future. Intentional actions here could include sitting down to create a realistic budget, reducing unnecessary expenses, and setting small, achievable financial goals. At the same time, it might mean recognizing a gap in your current skills or income opportunities and choosing to invest time in learning, updating a resume, or exploring new career paths. Each action taken, no matter how modest, builds your sense of agency and quiets the overwhelming pressure that comes with feeling stuck. Similarly, if your stress arises from constantly trying to meet others' expectations, this often points to unclear or fragile boundaries. It might show up as guilt when you say no, or fear of being seen as selfish. In this case, intentional action might be practicing simple, respectful ways of asserting your needs, starting with phrases like, "I'm not able to take that on right now," and gradually strengthening your ability to hold space for yourself without apology. What's important to remember is that emotional transformation isn't about fixing your whole life at once. It's about choosing one meaningful step and allowing that to be enough for today. Over time, these small but deliberate actions create momentum, reinforcing the truth that you are capable of changing your relationship with stress rather than being ruled by it. This process not only lightens your emotional load, It also restores a sense of direction and purpose. When you align your actions with the insights you've gained, you begin to trust yourself more deeply and live more intentionally. Stress no longer becomes something to escape from, it becomes a signal that guides you back to what truly matters. And with each intentional choice, you move closer to a life shaped not by pressure, but by clarity, courage, and compassion. If you've made it to this point, thank you for sharing this sacred space with me today. I pray that something in this message helped lift a weight off your shoulders and reminded you that peace is not just possible, it's already available within you, right here, right now. Remember, prayer is not your last resort, it's your first refuge. And when you slow down, observe, feel, reflect, and move with intention, even the heaviest stress can become a doorway to transformation. If this video spoke to your heart, please take a moment to like, share it with someone who may need peace today, and subscribe to The Journey of Wisdom. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next soul-nourishing message. Until next time, keep breathing, keep praying, and keep walking in wisdom. Peace is with you, always.